welcome to Unnecessary Gaming. My name is David, and this is episode 129. This is a video games episode, and it's made up of content that we recorded this year. Can you believe it? I no longer have to say the phrase, content that we recorded back in September of 2021. And to demonstrate that fact, Chris will be telling us about a game that came out in October of 2021, namely Dungeon Encounters by Square Enix. And Euan will be going for better by talking about two games that came out in 2017, Nintendo's Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. All of those games were played on the Switch, Nintendo's exciting new console. You should check it out. I don't have an anecdote for you from my long and storied life, but what I did do is I went onto Google and I put the number 129 into the first numerology website that I could find, and it tells me that it is the number of creativity, expressiveness, sociability, joy, joviality, and optimism. And if that doesn't describe this podcast, I don't know what does. I mean, maybe not the optimism part, but you never know. Anyway, episode 129. Enjoy.
So guys, with Breath of the Wild 2, or as it's now officially been dubbed, Tears of the Kingdom, I say Breath of the Wild, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about when I say Breath of the Wild, the Zelda game on the Switch, which has been something of a phenomenon. I wanted to kind of do a wee just retrospective, because I finally played both these games now, Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Mario Odyssey, which are kind of the, Zelda and Mario are your Nintendo, your big guns basically for Nintendo. And I've been wanting to play both these games, kind of like gauge how they are. There's been a lot of buzz about the Zelda one because it's this big open world. They've done something new with the Zelda format, and it's been massive with streamers and general gaming communities because of the sheer amount of fucking about you can do in it. It's it's a game designed to have fun with, and it's just beautiful. I don't know if either of you had I know, Chris, you've got a Switch. Have you had a chance to play it yet, or have you?
I haven't, no, because I'm still finding it hard every time I look at the price of it.
I think that's going to be the problem.
I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it eventually, but at the moment, It's like I don't know. I just I can't justify paying 60 quid for it at the moment.
Aye, that's fair. I mean, that's the thing. I do want to celebrate these two gaming icons, but I should qualify that, like, Nintendo have issues with how they deal with their product, and like a lot of it stems from Japan and like weird corporate culture there, and how they view the West, and how they don't seem to think that we buy their games, even though we buy them by the millions. So they overprice stuff. They don't produce enough of it. They don't send enough of it to Britain and America, all this sort of thing. But that said, they've absolutely nailed it with this current generation, or their current generation, and their two their two main big characters. So yeah, Breath of the Wild, it was the first game I got on the Switch, and I have, like many people, just sunk days into this game. The thing about it is that they've made it open world, and you could see that as being a bit of a gimmick, a bit of a thing. Okay, we're next gen. What are we going to do? Oh, we've got to make an open world game. It's like, you imagine the sort of thought processes that go on at Ubisoft or something like that. But they've managed to make an open world Zelda game that doesn't, for the most part anyway, sacrifice what makes Zelda great. And it has the feeling of just, there's that weird inscrutability about the Zelda lore and the ideas that sort of go into that world that are all there and in the design. But it's supplemented, and it's made better by all of these kind of open world. You've got your crafting. Well, crafting, I say it's you do cooking, where you'll find all sorts of food, different fish and vegetables and whatnot that will give you different bonuses when you cook them together, and you can make you can make your own health potions. It's the classic Zelda style with, you've got your hearts, and you can increase your number of hearts using they've changed the system for that. So previously in Zelda games, you would do a dungeon, fight a boss, and that would usually be the way you would progress. In Breath of the Wild, what they've done is they've scattered about 120 or so of these shrines about the game world that you can go to, and there'll be a challenge you need to complete, and that will give you an orb. 4 of those orbs will allow you to increase your, give you another heart container, or give you another stamina bar, or increase your stamina anyway. And stamina is the other big sort of stat that they have in this that they've not had in previous Zelda games. And it basically allows you to climb and do all sorts of things. Nothing in this world is sort of unexplorable. You see a mountain, you can climb up that mountain, and you can just go straight from where you are to it, you traversing whatever objects you want. So it's got this fun exploration sort of aspect to it. There's no initial, there's a rough kind of direction in the game. The setup and the story has been kept so simple to allow the player to kind of have their own experience. Essentially, you got to kill Ganon and save Zelda. It's the usual story, but in this game, Ganon is basically this. It's almost like Ganon's not like the human form in this. It's more like this primal evil energy thing that just surrounds Castle Hyrule, and you see it all the time. It's right there in the centre of the map, and you can see it from multiple locations around. It's basically where you're trying to get to, and from the start of the game, you're told that. And how you deal with all that is entirely up to you. So you could go straight there, and I guess if you've got the skills, and this is the kind of thing with all the speed runs and things that people have been doing, you can just go in and try and take them on. But what you can also do is go around the map, and there are these 4 divine beasts, which are sort of these almost like boss levels. They're your kind of dungeons, and basically saving them will give you a massive bonus when you go to fight Ganon at the end of the game. One of the things I'd say about these divine beast things, they're a lot of fun. And one of my main complaint, I think it's a general complaint with this game, is it could have done with more of that. The sort of main storyline is so sparse. I can't really think of a game like that where it's so, there's you've got to go to these 4 places. They're all themed around your sort of elements: air, fire, water, etc. And yeah, if you get that done, you go and fight Ganon. Obviously, this world is full of all sorts of other stuff you can do, and that's the kind of the main attraction of the game. You can just get lost. At the start of my game, I didn't even follow what was meant to be going on in the story. I just went off in the completely opposite direction, went to an area I shouldn't really been going towards the end of the game. Just fannied around for ages. And I had a great time. And eventually I got on track and did all the Divine Beasts, and yeah, had a good time. So, with Zelda being a big triumph, I think people haven't really talked so much about Mario Odyssey, but then Mario Odyssey being the big, the main title for Mario on the Switch. Previous to that, obviously, through the GameCube and the Wii and all that, you had Mario 64 on the N64, Sunshine, Galaxy, these being the 3D games in the Mario canon. So Odyssey, the newest one, I think is not to be overlooked. You forget how fun Mario games are and how sort of immediate. And one of the big changes they've made for this, obviously Mario, they're not going to do an open world Mario. That would be stupid. Apparently they are trying to do an open world Sonic game. So I don't know what's going on with that. But basically, the new Mario game, what they have done that I find really appealing to kind of liven up the style of it, you have the same kind of levels, large levels with lots of different puzzles and different areas that you had in all the previous 3D Mario games. What you don't have in Odyssey is a sort of hub world where you can go to all those places. Now, that's been a popular element in previous games, and I've enjoyed it, but removing it in this game and focusing on the levels really has made a big impact in just the kind of the pace of the game, how much you can, how much enjoyment you're getting out of it. I found myself going into level and really, it kind of pushed me to sort of keep playing.
Are you saying that, is it like just totally linear then? Is it just move from one thing to the next? Or?
No, it's so you go into these sort of large levels, but so yeah, what I wanted to point out is the main difference between this and the other 3D Mario games. So in previous games, you would go into one of these levels from a hub world, and they would usually be telling you what star you have to go for, or shine, or whatever it is.
Right.
And the level would be slightly different for each one, but basically the same. And you'd go and get that star, and then you'd have to come out of the level, or you'd be forcibly taken out of the level, and then you go back in again to do the next one. In this, all of your after power moons, they're all available on the level from the minute you get there. And you only need a certain amount to progress to the next level on your sort of airship. And I think it really improves the kind of the pace of these levels, because I've gone back recently and played some of these other 3D Mario games, and it was my big frustration, was it just felt slow.
That does sound like a really welcome change.
It really is.
A really obvious one as well that people would have been crying out for. Because that old format of like, you'd go to the same area, but you had to sort of go to it from the hub, and like, you know, it would give you like 5 or 6 options to choose from when you went to the area, and that would designate which little quest you had to do for that shine.
Yeah.
And it was really irritating. And it was so obvious. We're like, why can't we just have them all? And it sounds like that's what they've done.
Yeah, and it's just completely, revamped the game for me anyway, in terms of like just, the immediacy of it, and just, okay, oh, there's a moon, I'm going to go for that. And you find yourself going in for all these different challenges. The other sort of big gimmick with the game, as they all have some kind of crazy gimmick, this one, so at the start of the game, you have a little cutscene where you're already, as they say, in media res, you're fighting Bowser, and you get trounced. Mario gets trounced, and he gets his hat stomped and destroyed.
Oh no.
But luckily, he lands in a little town full of sentient hats, and one of them decides to join his cause. Because Bowser's basically going on his airship, and he's going to marry Princess Toadstool. Princess Peach? Was she ever called Princess Toadstool? Because I had a memory.
I think she
of this
was.
earlier.
I think that was country dependent. So I think there was various names for some of these characters.
I remember Toadstool. I still don't feel quite right calling her Peach. But anyway,
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up.
Okay. Yeah, let's settle this
you can
little
keep talking.
controversy. So, this sentient Cappy that joins you basically provides a whole new sort of mechanic for Mario, where you can throw the cap at enemies and it sort of comes back to you. It's like a little boomerang, and there's lots of different moves you can do with that, using the Switch controllers, sort of moving them around in different ways. We'll do different moves with the hat. And the other great thing you can do with it is you can basically possess other things using the hat. So you throw the hat at something, it lands on the thing, and then you become it. And Mario basically possesses it.
Sounds horrifying.
It is horrifying, but it's one of the greatest game mechanics ever, because it's just, they've been endlessly creative with it. There's things that you don't even look at, and you'll go, what is that? And then you like throw a cap at it, and you're suddenly you're a zip.
So it's not just enemies.
Oh, not just enemies, yeah. There'll be like zips on walls that can like open up areas, and or like electric pylons and things like that you can go along. They've come up with lots of really cool ways to use that mechanic. There's the big I don't know if any of you've seen New Dunk City, the sort of quite well known, certainly the one that I've seen a lot of images of from this game. It's a later level where you essentially go to like a human metropolis, and has this bizarre uncanny valley thing of Mario walking around among a bunch of like sort of normally proportioned humans wearing suits and whatnot. But yeah, in that level, there's sort of tank enemies. So you can possess the tank and you go around the streets having like tank battles. There's just, I could go through it, but there's all sorts of daft stuff that you do with the cap. And the thing I've noticed as well is like the sheer number of kind of different moves that Mario can do. There's stuff I hadn't even realised you could do that I've sort of pulled off by accident. And I've seen people doing a lot of really cool stuff on sort of like on streams like YouTube videos and things. So they've added like a whole new range of kind of movement to Mario. I mean, it's always been a thing with the 3D games, is sort of they've put in little kind of tricks and things like that, and there just seems to be a big range of them in Odyssey. So yeah, I am loving the current generation of Switch games. I'm hoping Tears of the Kingdom is a worthy sequel to Breath of the Wild. It looks interesting. hopefully they've listened to some of the complaints, but this being Nintendo, I'm not sure that'll be the case. But
well, I've got a question, right? Is Breath of the Wild is this new game that's coming out? Is it actually a sequel to Breath of the Wild?
It's a direct sequel. This is what
is this the first time this has ever happened in the Zelda games?
No. So
I mean,
there's
it
a
just
whole
feels
thing
like it just feels like the people complain about, let's say, Final Fantasy VII Remake sort of thing, and about how different it was from the story, some of it from the original game and stuff. But these Zelda people have been getting away with it for years.
Yeah. And it's
every single
like
game's just a remake.
Yeah, it's not like they've changed it much for for Breath of the Wild. One of the things I would say about Breath of the Wild is a big change, and again, it's been another controversy. It's so you have a lot of items. You can actually get a boomerang, but I found them utterly useless. Generally, you can pick up like swords, spears, bows, and things like that. They all break after a while, and they have, you get better ones. They have different damage, different strength values, all that sort of thing. That's been a bit of a bone of contention. Some people really love it. Yeah. Some people hate it. I'm indifferent, really.
I definitely heard people complain about that. Some people really weren't happy. I guess because it's un-Zelda-like, and they're like,
it's very
un-Zelda-like. They're worried it's taken it to more in the conventional style of non-Zelda games, if you like.
But that's what I say. For the most part, they've kept the Zelda thing, but there are these little things. I don't necessarily think it's bad.
I mean, it sounds fine to me.
I enjoyed the game plenty. It didn't really have any. It wasn't detrimental to my experience particularly. But I do acknowledge it's not necessarily been the most popular choice. But I mean, yeah, there is a bit of a tradition of, like, Zelda Link to the Past there was Link's Adventure or something on the Game Boy, which was kind of a sequel, and then there's the DS sequel to Wind Waker.
All right, yeah, I didn't.
And then there's Majora's Mask.
I guess. Yeah.
But they were never really. No. They were more just like, oh, we're doing another Zelda game, and it's in the style of that game. And they do tend to like. I mean, the Phantom Hourglass, that was the sequel one on the DS to Wind Waker, and that does follow on from Wind Waker, but it might as well not.
Yeah, it didn't feel.
Most of them
didn't feel
well
like a sequel when I played it.
Story-wise, they don't have much to do.
Yeah.
With their predecessor at all.
And it had a lot of new things.
Another adventure with this Link.
Because it was on the DS, they used a lot of the DS functions that people were quite excited about, like the touch. Obviously, the touch screen, but like they would use it in unexpected ways. Like I think, there were games using the microphone. There's a very famous puzzle in Phantom Hourglass, which I don't know if I should spoil. It's the solution to a very challenging puzzle. Everyone listen.
Well, I don't know if that was the game I played, but
that's the one.
There was one where that really, really frustrated me for like half an hour or something like that on the DS. I can't remember which game it was, but it was one to do with a map.
The
copy of it.
Yes, the copy of it. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
Chris, I'm pretty sure I've got your copy of that game.
Then I finally figured it out, and I was like, "You must be fucking joking."
I remember like. This was so long ago, but I was in the bath playing my DS, and I was just sitting there thinking my DS must be broken because I could not figure out how to do this bloody puzzle. I was like, what the hell's wrong with this thing?
I got to that. I got to a point in that one where you had to hit these squares with a hammer, to try and reveal a pattern. To get it all, but they changed. I couldn't work out the pattern of house they changed, and that was the point I gave up on that. Everything else up to that point was fine, but that was like, nah, I've got better things to do.
I'm glad that you knew exactly which puzzle I was talking about, Chris.
Well, it came into my head straight away, but I mean, I never even got close to finishing that game, but I just remember being extremely frustrated.
Yeah. It's like,
it just sticks out.
It's like blooming the original Metal Gear Solid, where you have to like radio a particular frequency, and I could not figure out what this frequency was. And I'm not kidding you, I restarted the game because I thought I must have missed it. There's some object I've not picked up somewhere, So I restarted, got to exactly the same point, same result. It's like, I cannot figure out what this codec frequency is. I don't, like Chris, I was like, is my game maybe broken? Like, have I found a bug in the game? And then
that was probably Hideo Kojima's intention.
And then, well,
to make you...
it is a spoiler, but it was on the back of the case.
I know
the physical case. That's like there's a little picture on the back with the person you're meant to call and the frequency that you need to put. So you can't do things like that now.
No,
I love stuff like that in games, though. You know, it's.
Oh yeah, they're great. They are great.
Spoiler for my upcoming. I'm hoping upcoming in an upcoming episode. I want to talk about some licensed games for or sort of I don't know what you call that, where they put a game out on another console, with the Switch being years later. I started playing Dark Souls Remastered, and it has that and it reminded me why those games are popular, particularly with folk of our generation, is because they have the obtuseness of video games
that's definitely the
what
word
we're used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sheer fucking obtuseness. It's like it's daring you to switch it off. And, you know, we're conditioned to be, no, fuck you. We're
I don't know if I told you guys, but I got the infamous achievement on the Stanley Parable.
all right.
It's the one where you have to turn the game off and not play it for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And you only get the achievement if you turn the game back on again after 5 years, and then the achievement pops.
Do you feel you've accomplished something there?
No, not at all. And that's the whole point of the Stanley Parable. You've got to feel like you've accomplished nothing in life. It's the philosophy. What a game. Oh, Euan, and just to answer your question, if you can open up the chat, the text chat for this voice channel that we're in, I've put the Japanese name for the princess. If you can read that.
Now, how do I get the... cut this. Ah, yeah, here we go. Well, it says Pichu. So, you know, that's... Pichu Hime.
Yeah, that's it. So apparently Toadstool was only used in the West, and her full name is actually Princess Peach Toadstool. So there you go.
Oh, okay. Oh, so Toadstool was in there.
Yeah. Didn't actually start calling her Peach all the time until Mario Kart 64.
I was going to say, surely Mario Kart was the point where they're like, people aren't going to want to drive a Toadstool.
So is she Princess Peach Toadstool because she got married? Like, is Peach her maiden name?
That's a good point.
I'm not getting involved in this.
Well, Peach and Toadstool is not a natural combination, is it? You'd get punted for MasterChef for serving that up.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you could make the flavours pop, I'm sure.
Yeah, you got to make the flavours pop and just get the presentation right, mate, and you're 90% of the way there.
Got to make sure you get the croissant and the tuile correct, and the ganache. Make sure you get the ganache correct,
yeah. And get that slaw.
Yes. Yeah, get your slaw on there. Much guac as you like.
Are you going to do a conclusion for your?
I think I've kind of. I think we've drifted so far from it that I'm quite happy to leave it there. I think I liked the games. Yeah, Breath of the Wild 2. Hopefully, it's good, and a lot of speculation that might be the last new game for the Switch. So, yeah, get ready for a new Nintendo console coming in the next financial 12-month.
Well, thanks, Euan.
No problem. I hope that was informative.
I have been playing on my new Nintendo Switch, Euan.
Ooh.
Which I don't think I've talked about a Switch game yet. So
join me in Switchland.
Me and my partner treated ourselves to a Switch for our Christmas present. So I'm finding that like there's games that are just really suited for Switch. Like just really, they work really well on Switch. Like as a little handheld console, or even just not. But
Yeah.
one of them is definitely Dungeon Encounters, which is a game that is by Squeenix, that they just kind of slid out into existence last year. There was no fanfare, as far as I'm aware. I don't think that they really marketed it that much, but it's there, and it's a bit bizarre. It's like, Square Enix, Final Fantasy, all that sort of stuff. Take that and like just strip it all right back down to its bare bones, and you've got Dungeon Encounters. Like, so it's really, like, there is a story in the game. It's very short and sweet, the introduction to it, about what the game's about. You're essentially just supposed to be some people from a town that there's a dungeon that's appeared or something like that, and the adventurers that have gone in have never came back, so off you go, go and investigate this dungeon. But it's essentially like playing a really, really old, almost roguelike, like the original Rogue game, or NetHack or whatever.
Nice.
It sort of not stylistically like that, but
Yeah.
it's like it's been played on a bit of graph paper. Like somebody's just charted out some boxes on graph paper and you just run around in them. And there's numbers just scattered about the place. And each of these numbers represents either a battle or some sort of little event or like a shrine where you can get healed or something like that. There's no real art. That's the thing, right? The only real art that's in the game is when you get into a fight. It's the Square Soft, Square Enix, whatever you want to call it, the turn-based battle system with the ATB system, the little bar that goes up, the wee bar that fills up, and then it's your turn. And your characters each have a portrait, and the guys, whoever you're fighting's each got a portrait. That's it, really? I mean, you just run around, and you fight, and then you level up, and you find new equipment. And then you go and run about again, you fight again, and you'll level up and find new equipment, and then you just... It's so stripped back to its bare bones, right? This game could have been made in 40 years ago. Easily. Like, there's nothing in this game that couldn't have been made 40 years ago. There's only one 3D model that I've seen, and that's just to represent your character running about on these graph paper. And it's just a grind fest. So it's run around, level up your characters, get down into the next level of the dungeon once you find the 0-1 number, I think, is the descending staircase. So find the 0-1 on each level and go down to the next level. Yeah, I mean, I've not even played that much of it, and I just get the feeling that there's not really that much more to it than that. I've found a math puzzle and a map puzzle. I've solved the map puzzle. There's a math puzzle, and it seems that there's more of these scattered about the place. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this math puzzle. It's quite a simple answer as far as I can see, but I don't know what to actually do with the answer. And there's more of these scattered about. And what was kind of weird about it is that when you go into the menu, there's like an events log, which literally tells you all the numbers that are in the game and what they actually represent. Now, some of them, they're quite vague. It might just be a quote that has some weird thing written in it. But a lot of them are just literally just like, this is map puzzle 2, this is map puzzle 3, this is map puzzle 4. And you can just look at this event log and go, all right, so I can see what's coming then. So it's weird, and yet I like it. Like it's just a way of just switching your brain off and just sprinting about in a dungeon and battling monsters and just continuing on. There's when you start the game, like you can make a party of 4, and there's like a massive list of people that you can make a party out of, but only 8 of them are available, and the rest of them are all like turned to stone or they're KO'd. And from what I've read about this game, you'll find them in the dungeon at some point, but they're all much higher level as well. You can see their stats. Yeah, like I say, everything in this game is simplistic, just the basics of a dungeon crawler, a turn-based battle dungeon crawler, and it actually works quite well. So if you're not bothered about graphics, if you like that old school, just dungeon crawl feeling, pen and paper sort of thing, fantastic, that's for you. I should pick it up, Euan, and give it a go. I think it's on sale at the moment.
Add that to my Switch collection.
Yeah. Everything in it's like recognisable as well. It feels like, it weirdly feels like a Square Squaresoft game, like an old school Squaresoft game, like an old Final Fantasy game or something like that. But without all the fluff.
Without all the try to deny that it's a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
We don't like turn-based combat.
There's no, like I say, there's no story. You don't stop and chat to people or anything. You just literally run about fighting monsters.
Just get on with it.
just get on with
Crack on and fight some monsters, will you?
I do like as well that when you're running about the map, I realised that you can turn the speed up of your character so you can literally just sprint across this map full pelt. I don't know how many floors there are in the game. I get the feeling there might be 99. But it turns out that every floor that ends in a 9 has a teleporter that'll take you back up to the top so that you can go to the shops and stuff in the little town. And the town is actually just a map of graph paper with numbers on it as well. There's no art. That's what I'm saying. There's just no art. It's literally just...
I need to see it to believe it.
Just squares. It works, though. I like it. I'm enjoying it.
Nice.
What number have you got to? What dungeon level?
I think I'm down in like 15 or something. I can't remember. I haven't died yet, but I've come close.
Oh, so you've only scratched the surface.
Oh yeah, I've only scratched the surface, but
who knows what could be down there?
Who knows? But as far as I can see from what I've read, I suspect that this is what I've played is the game, right? And it's just going to be that going forward.
When you get down there and it becomes like a full-fledged, it's actually Final Fantasy 16.
Oh yeah. You beat the boss in level 99 and then you've unlocked the latest Final Fantasy game. So that's Dungeon Encounters, lads.
See, just goes to show you don't need graphics.
You don't. You actually don't.
You just need graph paper.
Okay, that's your lot. Join us in our next video games episode where Chris will be talking about Cyberpunk Cat Simulator, a phrase I never thought I would ever say. That'll be Stray. And I'll be doing the roguelite dungeon crawler Hades. We're on Facebook, Twitter, all the usual things at UNNC Gaming. That is UNNC Gaming. We have a Discord, and you can go to discord.me/UNNC Gaming and get an invite that way. All right, thanks for listening. Bye. I'm saving Breath of the Wild for the right time.
Yeah,
I'm not ready for it.
I've heard a lot of that.
Yeah, it's going to be possibly my honeymoon. It's something like that.
It's definitely a good honeymoon game. Yeah, I can see it being a honeymoon game.
Just shut myself up in a hotel for 2 weeks
in the Maldives.
Yeah, just close the curtains.